Guys, I hate to say it, but it might be happening. Like, actually. For those of you guys who haven't been following the news, recently Donald Trump forced ICE to follow a new quota, that every day they have to hold and capture at least 3,000 people. 3,000 detentions per day is the quota that ICE has to meet, as ordered by Donald Trump, and they are making sure they meet that quota. This has led to massive surprise raids all across the country, but most notably in what the right has deemed sanctuary cities in Southern California, like LA, for instance. And across LA, there have been a rash of surprise raids where ICE has been detaining hundreds, in some cases thousands of people at a time in the city, and they have been supposedly focusing on going after people that aren't any threat whatsoever. Like, they're targeting people that are, like, immigrants looking for work outside of Home Depot is apparently, like, their main target right now. They are treating anybody who could so much as be suspected of illegal immigration as if they are the worst of the worst criminals. And it breaks my heart to say it, but apparently 55% of Americans, I think it's 65% of Americans still say that while they don't agree with Trump's methods, they still agree with the idea of what Trump is trying to do, according to recent polling. So even while there are massive protests over this that have broken out all across LA, all across the country, but particularly the main conversation has been about LA, there's still a pretty massive consensus among Americans that Donald Trump and what he's doing here is a necessary evil. They believe that there is a undeniable merit to the idea that immigration hurts America and that immigration is a problem. Basically, everyone has decided that you have to agree immigration is a problem, otherwise you're, biased to the left. And so if you're not willing to vote or support strong anti-immigration policy, America's not going to support you. And on the other hand, you've got the rest of America who is more left-leaning and not willing to compromise on this, many of them being the children or themselves immigrants, the children of or themselves immigrants or friends of immigrants, are out there protesting. In response to this, Donald Trump has called in the National Guard and has deployed the Marines in LA with riot gear, tear gas, rubber bullets, and they are going hog wild on these protesters. There have been hospitalizations of journalists and photographers, so they're not just attacking protesters, they're also attacking people that are just there to get footage of what's happening. This really does throw me back to the George Floyd protests, when the police would start, breaking their line they would form and just start attacking the protesters. And there's this one clip that has stuck with me for, 5 years where this journalist is holding, a big, bulky news camera with both hands, that classic kind of news camera. They're holding it like this, right? And he's got his arms up, he's just recording, and, he's clearly pressed. He's wearing, the uniform, he's got the camera and everything. And a SWAT officer with, a circular SWAT shield takes the shield and proceeds to start bashing it with the side of the shield, bashing him in the chest. Imagine Captain America with his shield, using the edge of it to, punch somebody in the chest. That's what this riot cop was doing to this journalist whose arms were up like this holding a camera, and we see it from their perspective. Is Zan going to show the video where an Australian journalist got shot by ICE? I don't think YouTube will allow me to show that. Actually, for those that don't know, platforms are cracking down on coverage of this from left-wing pundits. Midas Touch got its second strike from TikTok for covering this story. So Midas Touch is now one more strike away from getting banned from TikTok, and they're not the only left-leaning platform that has received strong punishment from big social media sites like YouTube or TikTok for covering this story. As Midas Touch called them, the powers that be in big tech do not want this story getting a lot of attention. So, you know, hit that like button, I guess. Anyway, let's get right into this, because this whole situation is insane. Like, my friends have been telling me about it and talking to me about it, and they're like, is it happening? Like, is this it? Is like fascism just here now? Are we in it? Is this it? And I'm like, I think so, guys. I think so. So let's find out. How bad has it really gotten?
Tonight, we've got our reporters out across the city, and we begin with Liz Kreutz. Liz, let's start with the Marines being called in tonight.
Yeah, Tom, so officials calling in 700 Marines that are being mobilized here. They're not here in LA yet, but they are on their way. You can see there's a large crowd that is gathered.
Is someone revving their engine to try and keep the news media from being able to, like, cover the story with clear audio? That sounds like someone just revving their engine just to, like, be an annoying cunt. Is that what I'm hearing? Sounds like an engine revving over and over again. There's a car next to them? Yeah, that's purposefully revving its engine repeatedly.
Here, those Marines, we're told, are experts in de-escalation and crowd control, and they're going to join those 2,000 National Guard troops. Some of them you see right there at this federal building, facing off now with protesters. Tonight, a massive group of protesters again taking to the streets of LA.
In this country, no human is illegal.
The city of Angels on edge after violent clashes over the weekend. Police in riot gear facing off with protesters who oppose immigration enforcement operations carried out by ICE agents. Tonight, President Trump saying he made a great decision to send 2,000 National Guard soldiers to the city.
This is considered completely unprecedented, by the way. If I'm not mistaken, the only time something similar to this has happened, besides January 6th, mind you, which, hey, funnily enough, supposedly the January 6th insurrectionists were not insurrectionists, they were just peaceful protesters, but these protesters, Trump and the right-wing media are calling insurrectionists. And Trump has said that any of them who dare to lay a finger on a police officer, National Guardsman, or a Marine will be pursued with the full extent of the law. So, I guess the First Amendment doesn't matter anymore, huh?
Causing the problem are professional agitators, they're insurrectionists.
California's Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom opposed the president's move, saying Trump was manufacturing chaos and violence.
You had a disaster happening. I feel we had no choice. I don't want to see happen what happened so many times in this country. I watched Minneapolis burn.
All of this erupting in response.
Can we get a I guess Minneapolis just doesn't exist, by the way. I love how many cities in the conservative headcanon, because remember, most conservatives are either billionaire, like con artists like Trump from the big city, or they're like suburban / rural living, God-fearing, red-blooded Americans who believe if they ever enter a city, it'll be like entering like the Hunger Games or Tilted Towers on Fortnite. Like that's what the average suburbanite or rural American thinks the average American city is. Tilted Towers in Fortnite. If I go there, I'm going to die in seconds. I'm going to get robbed. I'm going to get the shit beaten out of me. I'm going to get, killed, serial murdered, whatever it may be. A lot of people that live in cities are terrified of them. They believe that these protests, like, burn the whole city down, and that's what their media runs with. And so, like, supposedly Portland doesn't exist anymore. Supposedly Minneapolis doesn't exist anymore. Apparently now LA is going to be burned down and will no longer exist in the conservative headcanon. None of them go to these cities themselves, so in their mind, I unironically think many of them believe these cities just don't exist anymore.
Response to ICE immigration enforcement operations. More than 100 undocumented immigrants arrested last week. DHS saying most had final deportation orders, some with criminal records, including domestic violence and robbery. Mayor Karen Bass calling on residents to express their anger peacefully and blaming the president for inflaming the unrest.
I don't want.
I've got a friend that lives in Boston that's been telling me that Boston's mayor has been quite regularly, subverting ICE and Trump's efforts to try and, like, push ICE into Boston to like like catch people and stuff. And Trump has been pushing for legal consequences on Boston's mayor, who is pretty popular there, and it's likely that she is going to probably end up securing another win if Trump tries to go after her with legal consequences for opposing ICE. And that's just Boston. There are a lot of cities all around the country that are probably going to have a similar kind of vibe, not just cities, but towns too.
People to fall into the chaos that I believe is being created by the administration completely unnecessarily.
The confrontations escalating over the weekend. This video showing DHS agents pelted with objects while inside their vehicle. And here, a restaurant worker helping a sheriff's deputy who appeared to be pepper sprayed.
Tonight we had individuals out there shooting commercial-grade fireworks.
Oh, does it suck when it happens to you? It sucks to be pepper sprayed, huh? Kind of sucks, huh? I love that, though. That is very funny. It's like, oh, I've been pepper sprayed. How could anyone do this to someone else?
Tonight we had individuals out there shooting commercial-grade fireworks at our officers. That can kill you.
Police firing non-lethal rounds to disperse the crowds, one hitting this reporter. The protesters taking over one of LA's busiest freeways, bringing traffic Sunday to a standstill. Crowds above throwing rocks and incendiary devices at officers.
It's begun, guys. And I don't mean the, era of fascism in America. That began months ago. I mean the realization. This is the point, I think, where America is going to start slowly but steadily realizing just how bad this is. I'm very much getting throwbacks to 2020 right now. I'm getting throwbacks to, when people started to realize that, Trump and his administration were hostile to free speech. Their policies were not good for the country. Trump was not keeping the promises that got him elected. And people voted in Biden in numbers never seen before in any election before or since. I could see, and we're seeing this happen years before, early into Trump's second term. We're talking first half of the first year here, right? Things have already gotten very heated, and I don't see them cooling down over the course of Trump's presidency. I don't think things are going to calm down. Are they going to ban guns, Zan? I do not think they're going to ban guns. If the Republicans ban guns, I don't care if it's the Republicans, the 2A people are going to go absolutely apeshit. It depends on how they ban guns, too. Are they banning the sale of guns, the possession of guns, the purchase of ammo? Are they limiting what you can have? Are they limiting what can be, I don't, what do you mean by what if they ban guns? Like banning guns could mean a million things, but I don't think any definition of banning guns is going to happen. Maybe targeted policies that try to reduce the amount of POC that can own guns, that would not surprise me.
Electric scooter landing on the hood of a police car.
We're here on 101 right now. Protesters have shut down the freeway. You can see flashlights have been going off. Police are closing in. Protesters are running southbound. Let's go.
Our team pulling back to avoid the tear gas. Later, we watched as protesters vandalized multiple Waymo self-driving vehicles that got stuck in the chaos.
Things are escalating now. Protesters have lit 2 Waymo self-driving cars on fire. You can see the flames here.
Police cars and
I hate that there are people who do this. Some people say oh, it was probably cops that did it or people that are infiltrating the protests. But no, there are, when you get thousands of people together to protest, that just going by statistics, there's going to be some crazy fuckers in that crowd that are going to take things too far. And it's unfortunate, but yeah, there's going to be, there's a few people here that are doing some bad shit. And the worst part is that they're going to end up giving license to the police on a legal level to just attack everybody, those are the only people who make it safe enough for me to attend these. I don't know, you hate the people that or you like the people that start burning cars and stuff during protests? I don't know. This is the kind of shit that gets protests to be divisive in the American political discussion. Usually if the protest is like, if there's no videos of places burning or anything because of protesters, it's a lot harder for the right to push the idea that it's an insurrection or that it's like not a good protest. It gets a lot harder. A lot of people are baby brain and they see something like this and immediately they believe that your cause is bad. A lot of Americans.
This American flag also set ablaze. During the clashes, many protesters waving
You're allowed to
Mexican
burn the American
flags, what's
flag.
become a symbol of resistance against ICE.
I'm flying this proudly because it's a product of my personal identity, my ancestors.
Protesters opposing the National Guard deployment.
What do you think about the National Guard being brought in?
I think that it's ridiculous because where was the National Guard on January 6th?
This violence that I've seen is
True.
disgusting. We are overwhelmed as far as the number of people out there engaged in this type of activity.
The LAPD chief asked about the presence of the National Guard, saying he thought local authorities could handle it, but he's now reassessing.
Do we need them? Well, looking at it tonight, this thing has gotten out of control.
Liz Kreutz joins us once again from the scene of those protests. Liz, we saw what happened this weekend. Walk our viewers through what's happening tonight.
Yeah, so right now, this is a large crowd of people that's continuing to grow. It's about 3 different protests, Tom, that are now converging in this one location here outside this federal building where we're seeing the National Guard. We weren't seeing this last night. Los Angeles has just announced a tax.
Wasn't the National Guard at J6? They were, but Trump took hours and hours and hours to call them in. And as we know, because of like leaks that came out of the White House shortly after in a big investigation, Trump was told he needs to, that he lost the election. He's not going to overturn the results and he needs to call the National Guard. And apparently he threw his nuggets at the wall and got ketchup and mustard all over the wall of the fucking White House because he got angry and threw his fucking food. Anyone remember that? The Donald Trump Nugget Gate? I feel like the fact that we have stopped mentioning that for years is crazy. Trump straight up had a tantrum and threw his nuggies. I remember Nugget Gate, yeah. Yeah, me too. I'll never forget Nugget Gate. I didn't even know that. Look it up. It's some good shit.
Tactical alert citywide here. There's a lot of anger. They're shouting at these officers, but mostly so far it has been peaceful. That's what we're hearing from officers as well. But the big concern is as we head into those nighttime hours, that's when we really start to see the escalation, Tom.
All right, Liz Kreutz leading us off. Liz, please stay safe out there. Now to the growing war of words between the Trump administration and Governor Gavin Newsom over the L.A. protests you just saw. The latest escalation, President Trump suggested...
Listen, guys. I have a lot of complaints about Gavin Newsom. All right? I do. I have a fair few complaints about Gavin Newsom. Don't get me wrong. He has got some policies that he's passed in California that I have a big problem with, particularly in the realm of firearms. But the enemy of our enemy is our friend. And Gavin Newsom is the good guy here. Listen, in a fight like this, you gotta back the good guy. Gavin Newsom is the good guy here.
Today, he'd support arresting Newsom. Here's Jacob Soboroff.
What do we want? What do we want now?
Tensions high tonight on the streets of Los Angeles and between the Trump administration and the state of California. The state today announcing a lawsuit against the administration over its deployment of the National Guard.
I like Gavin Newsom. He's a nice guy, but he's grossly incompetent. Everybody knows.
While President Trump suggests...
How does Donald Trump do it every time? How does he manage to, like, be so himself, you know? Like, I need to know what calculation happens in his brain that makes him say the things he does. Like, I like Gavin Newsom, but he's incompetent. He's an incompetent guy. What? Like, I guess spite, but I just... Is he just whining? Is this just his like, always just a nonstop temper tantrum? I always just wonder, like, how does he choose the words to say? Because the way he talks is so unique and weird, and I guess it's just New Yorker, you know? As a Floridian, he just seems really alien to me because he's from New York, even though he tries to do the whole, like, I'm a Floridian, Mar-a-Lago. He tries to do that whole thing, and he's got a lot of supporters in Florida, but he is a New Yorker. The fact that Texans and Floridians bend the knee to this New York businessman is fucking crazy, dude. Absolutely shameful.
He's open to arresting Governor Gavin Newsom.
I would do it if I were Tom. I think it's great.
Tom is Tom Homan, the president's border czar. Over the weekend, Homan and Newsom throwing jabs at one another.
Why is border czar a thing that we actually say now? Border czar is a term Trump made up as like a derogatory like title for Kamala Harris. Why is border czar a term that we're just using now? Is that just a title that we've decided exists now? Because Donald Trump made it catchy? It's just so cringe. Border czar. Every time I hear it now, I'm just like, you know? Like, I remember a time when that was not a term that people were using, and I miss it. Didn't Trump make it an actual position? Did Trump make border czar an actual position? I'm not aware of that. As far as I know, nope. But maybe I'm wrong.
During interviews with NBC News.
He did?
Homan
Damn,
saying
I didn't know that.
Who breaks the law by standing in the way of immigration enforcement could be arrested, even Newsom or LA Mayor Karen Bass.
Are they at risk of being arrested?
I'll say it about anybody. You cross that line, it's a felony to knowingly harbor and conceal an illegal alien. It's a felony to impede law enforcement from doing their job.
That led to this.
Oh my god, that dude, you can hear how much mushmouth that guy has from how much dip he's done in his life. How much chewing tobacco he's chewed on that's like melted his fucking mouth. You can like listen to him talk again. It's illegal to harbor an illegal alien. You know, listen to the way he talks.
Could be arrested, even Newsom or LA Mayor Karen Bass.
Are they at risk of being arrested?
I'll say it about anybody. You cross that line, it's a felony to knowingly harbor and conceal an illegal alien. It's a felony.
Dude, the dip has destroyed the inside of his mouth. He can't even speak anymore. Yep, like my grandpa. No, I'm not even joking, by the way. If you grew up in the South, you know, like those old dudes who you know did a lot of dip because they talk like that. Their speaking is all fluffy and weird. It's because they have like mouth lesions and shit.
To impede law enforcement from doing their job.
That led to this reaction from Newsom, who I met up with last night at the Los Angeles County Emergency Operations Center.
Tom Homan, the border czar, said to me yesterday he did not rule out literally arresting you, nor Mayor Bass, if you interfere in his words. He said you hadn't yet.
He's a tough guy, wasn't he, dude?
Wait, did he?
Find me.
Hold on. You guys confirmed that he did dip? I thought so. I thought I knew the sound of someone who's done way too much dip in their life from his voice. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised I was able to pick that out. You'd be surprised about how much of a person's lifestyle is just obvious, you know? I don't know. You could just kind of tell that guy has, like, tobacco mouth.
So, Tom, arrest me. Let's go.
Today, Homan clarifying his comments.
They haven't crossed the line, but they're not above the law either. If they commit a crime,
oh yeah, I'm not wrong. Look at those teeth.
They started to ask for prosecution. That's what was happening.
Yep.
I never threatened her.
He likes his chewing tobacco.
The protests ignited after a series of immigration raids in L.A., where as many as 1 million undocumented immigrants live.
Before those protests on Friday, one of the locations where ICE reportedly conducted an enforcement operation was right here in this parking lot of a Home Depot in the Cypress Park neighborhood of Los Angeles, where day laborers stand on corners just like this.
You have to remember, we're dealing with an administration of racists. So when they're like, all right, where are we going to go find a bunch of Mexicans to detain? All right, let's go to the parking lot of Home Depot. Fuck, man.
This and wait for cars to go by in order to be offered a job and go take one for the day.
In the face of the uncommon raids, these undocumented workers felt it was important to speak out, but wore masks to protect their identities.
Everybody is scared about ICE.
Are you worried about your family, about your families?
Absolutely.
Today, organizer Pablo Alvarado calling the raids the highest expression of hypocrisy.
We need your labor, but we don't want to accept your humanity. We need your labor, but we don't want to respect your rights.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking.
This is truly Donald Trump at his most blatantly evil. Unfortunately, Americans are making excuses for it at every turn. Apparently, there are 2,000 more troops about to be deployed in LA right now. This is not the end of the story by any means. Like, the violence is only going to escalate further. In fact, I have another video here that I saved for us to watch. This is the most recent update on the situation as far as I've been able to tell. And apparently they're going to be more than doubling the amount of troops in the ground. Right now it's, I think, like 800 National Guards, 700 Marines, but they plan to send in another 2,000 troops over the next, like, I guess, few hours maybe.
Says that President Trump is deploying another 2,000 National Guard here to the city of Los Angeles.
National Guard.
That would come on top of 2,000 already deployed, 300 of whom at least are already here. Some of those are actually right there behind where I'm standing here outside the federal building here with those California National Guard. As you can see the music, you can see the crowd has been building here, maybe another 100 or 200 people here just as we've been speaking in these past few moments. End of the day, work is out. We are now getting near around.
I expect these protests to grow. With the amount of attention they're getting, I expect people to see this and be like, fuck it, I'm going to go join in. These protests are going to get bigger. The more that, like, the police get violent too, I feel like people are going to be motivated to protest more. It'll be a bit of a way of, like, it'll dissuade some people from going to protest because they don't want to get hurt. But I feel like a lot of people are going to see this, and it's going to be what pushes them over that edge and gets them out there on the street protesting. Zan, you really need to do more clickbaity titles. It gets views, I guess, but I don't know. My titles are about as clickbaity as you can make them, I guess, but yeah, I can try.
5 o'clock. Congressman Adam Kinzinger joins us now, obviously former congressman, also retired lieutenant colonel with the Air National Guard, and John Miller, our chief law enforcement analyst, both with us. Congressman, may I just start with you because of this breaking news? When, you know, and I'm trying to get to the bottom of understanding exactly what numbers Governor Newsom is putting out there, whether he's now talking about possibly 4,000 National Guard coming here to L.A. or not. That number would vastly exceed any number of protesters that we've seen. Some of the National Guard here already are standing behind where we are. As someone who served in the Air National Guard, how troubled are you by the use of the National Guard right now?
Do you think any of these guardsmen are proud to be there?
Because look, what you're looking at, they have California National Guard shields, but you are not looking at California National Guard troops. You are looking at U.S. Army troops. They were activated by the President of the United States under Title 10. They are no longer National Guard. They're no different than the 82nd Airborne. They have no law enforcement capability legally. That's why they're stuck guarding federal buildings. Same with the Marines, and same with the 2,000 additional activated troops.
I bet you Trump orders them to go beyond what permission, what right they have to engage, like, do law enforcement. At this point, if, like, Trump has this armed force he can just order to do things, then there are no consequences whatsoever. And I've been saying this for months and months and months now. There are no guardrails. There are no consequences for Trump. He commands the people with guns. It's as simple as that. He controls the people who have all the guns.
That's now U.S. Army. There are 4,000 potentially U.S. Army troops. They're not National Guard. That's an important distinction unless the Insurrection Act is invoked or unless Gavin Newsom himself concedes to their activation. If I was the governor of California right now, I'd be activating the rest of my National Guard and challenge Trump to federalize that because, listen, there is no militia as guaranteed by the Second Amendment if, in fact, the president can come in and overtake the governor's authority with a militia.
Dude, what fucking happens if the governor calls in the National Guard on the troops that Trump has deployed? Is that just a full-on act of civil war at that point? I'm not gonna lie, I've never been one to say, like, oh, civil war imminent or anything like that. And I don't think it's gonna happen. But if civil war in modern America goes down, this is the closest we've come to it happening. We are one order from Gavin Newsom away from the first act of actual civil war that could unironically happen. It could end in a day. If it did, who knows? It could topple America, but I don't think it's going to happen. Though I won't lie, this is the closest we've ever been to it. Like, we are one order from Gavin Newsom away from that. Tim Pool would get to be right for once in his life. That is true. Tim Pool would finally get a W.
John Miller, what is the latest that you are hearing from your sources about what may unfold on the ground tonight? We know that what happens tonight is obviously crucial for where this goes.
Well, I mean, what they're focused on is gathering the resources. You know, the LAPD, which is a city of 3.5 million people, it's a third larger geographically than even New York City, but it's only 8,000 cops, which is smaller than Chicago, smaller than New York.
Really?
And it's about 2,000
Yeah.
less than the LAPD is budgeted for.
That doesn't actually surprise me. I don't think that LA needs more cops necessarily, nor does it need more like money spent on police, but like, dude, I mean, that's still a lot of cops, you know, like thousands of cops is still a lot of cops.
But it's the number they're working with. So resources are an issue. When they get into a thing where they're having to deploy mobile field forces in the numbers of
the NYPD is
250
huge.
or 300 officers to maintain order in the city based on what's going downtown, that means other calls aren't being answered. So what they're looking at is outreach from City Hall and their community affairs people to people within the protest groups, trying to de-escalate things that may get out of control. What they're looking at is outreach from the LAPD to their contacts within the protest groups to say, how do we keep this de-escalated? And that's Fred Booker and his team, who I have a lot of experience with in LAPD, who did that very well for years. But what they're looking for is, can we manage these protests without it going over the line? What ends up happening, and we saw this yesterday, is if the rocks and bottles start coming, if you know, the graffiti keeps going, if windows are broken, that's where you end up declaring it under 409 Penal Code, California state law, an unlawful assembly. And then it falls to the LAPD, not the National Guard. And
Trump has declared basically all of downtown LA an unlawful assembly zone. So if you're there and assembled doing a protest, you're breaking the law. That's what Trump has declared.
Not ICE to disperse that crowd, which, as we saw yesterday, is a difficult task. It can get messy and it can take time.
Seattle only has 800 police officers? That's crazy. I see them all the time. Like, all the time I see them. Like, I hear their sirens just driving around, going off. I see them going up and down the street. I see them driving by when I go out. Like, they're all over the place. Like, I feel like I don't go 10 minutes without seeing a cop or a cop car. So it really surprises me that there's only 800 of them, apparently. That's still a lot, but I would have guessed 4,000 to 5,000 easily. Maybe you live in a high crime area? I don't. Not really. Like, not really. I lived in a higher crime area in my last place, for sure. Like, that was a place where if I opened the windows at night, which I often did, and just kind of listened, some nights more than others, I would hear gunshots. But not around here, you know? It's just, you know, cops are everywhere in Seattle, but, like, I guess 800 is all they need. Seattle's actually not that big.
I will just say, to give you a chance here, when I'm looking around, I saw the man with the Mexican flag and the American flag, which was a powerful moment. But there are a lot of Mexican flags.
Oh my God, is that Quentin Reviews?
Here. Just Mexican flags. We can even see just a few right next to me where I am. What's the importance of that?
Look, I honestly think people
oh my God.
carrying the American
It's Quentin again. Quentin Reviews.
flag around. It's one thing if you're at a protest supporting Ukraine and defending Ukraine, even if, Palestinian flags.
I know him.
What this is a protest about is people wanting to be American or wanting to stay in the United States. I think the visuals of carrying that are terrible, honestly. And this is feeding right into Donald Trump's narrative. People can carry whatever flag they want. They have a right to do it. I just think it would be much stronger if they were carrying American flags only.
Breaking news here in Los Angeles. We are just watching.
I just think it'd be stronger if they were only carrying American flags. No, dude, they're protesting. No, the Mexican flags are fine, okay? Shut up. Shut up.
There are orders coming from the police saying they're going to be trying to disperse this crowd.
Yeah.
They, about 3 minutes ago, gave them 5 minutes, so we'll see what's happening. We're seeing some people putting more masks on, worried about tear gas or something being used to deploy. We'll see what happens here.
I don't think they're putting on the masks in case of tear gas. They're putting on the masks because that's what you should do at protests like this. I guess this knowledge is a little less passed around these days, but back during the George Floyd protest, it was very much discussed. You don't take your phone to protests, and you don't not cover your face if you can, like, if things start to get rough, because they will use traffic cameras and CCTV footage to try and, like, identify people and arrest them just for having been to protests, even if they didn't do anything. And they can use pings off of your phone, like the history of where your phone was at a certain date at a certain time, to figure out if you were somewhere or if you are somewhere in real time. So you don't take your phone, and you probably want to cover your face if you're going to a protest like this. That's probably what a lot of them are doing.
In these next few moments. All eyes also on the governor of California and the
also,
president
there's a
of the
reporter
United
there.
States. And the long-simmering feud that is now at the center of what we are seeing unfold here in Los Angeles tonight.
I like Gavin Newsom. He's a nice guy, but he's grossly incompetent. Everybody
Trump
knows.
again.
That old showdown between Donald Trump and Gavin Newsom is back, and explosive as ever.
It's my job to clean up Donald Trump's mess because he's making it by the hour.
The president and the California.
You think the optics here are a major W for Trump? Not really, no, Bishop Ling. I think there'll definitely be an attempt at pushing back against the narrative here on the left by Trump and the right by claiming these are, like, violent protesters or whatever. They're burning down LA. But I think in general, a lot of people are going to see how anti-democratic, anti-free speech this is. And I think they're going to start to be a little shaken when it comes to Trump, especially when you consider he's not done much of anything to improve the economy, which was his biggest promise, the thing that got him into office.
California governor have long been tangling over immigration.
I said, look, you got to take care of this, otherwise I'm sending in the troops. That's what we did.
But their fight is escalating
Christ.
after Trump federalized the National Guard and mobilized Marines after violent protests in Los Angeles.
He's taken the illegal and unconstitutional act of federalizing the National Guard, and he's putting lives at risk.
It's the latest chapter in the turbulent relationship between Trump and Newsom, who have sparred over tariffs.
No state is poised to lose more than the state of California. This is recklessness at another level.
And deadly wildfires.
We're going to take care of your water situation, and we'll force it down his throat. And we'll say, Gavin, if you don't do it, we're not giving you any of that fire money that we send you all the time.
For Trump, the grievance often goes back to California itself.
I love how Trump's argument is, Gavin Newsom, you're not handling the fires well enough. So if you don't handle the fires the way I want you to, then I'm going to stop giving your state money for handling the fires. And so nothing will be done about them. Also, Trump believing, I guess, that water flows south because Earth is a globe and water goes downhill and south is down. Trump believes that, like, water from Northern California falls down to Southern California so that any, like, dam or thing that blocks off water flow that is in Northern California, he demanded be opened up so they could, quote unquote, flow down to Southern California. And he, like, sent the armed National Guard to forcibly make the California, like, water people open up their dams and stuff. Yeah, Donald Trump is quite dumb, and he will display that very openly, just despite specifically Gavin Newsom has been the ongoing history between them.
If Jesus came down and was the vote counter, I would win California.
And the fact he lost the Democratic enclave.
I need to sit with that quote for a moment. Dude, I need, if you need a definition for the term narcissist, that video clip is all you need. Holy shit.
By more than 20 points and millions of votes all 3 times he ran.
Objectively, California is the most un-Trump state in America, and I think that's demonstrable.
Yet beyond the resentment and anger, the two men have also shaken hands and found common cause.
We're obviously from different sides of the spectrum, but we have a very good relationship.
We played no politics during COVID with California.
Nothing but cowards!
Tonight, those pleasantries are a distant memory, with California in Trump's crosshairs again.
We did the right thing. Everybody agrees to that. but you have a governor who let the city burn down. I think Gavin, in his own way, is probably happy I got involved.
No sign of that, as Newsom sued Trump and called his actions an unmistakable step toward authoritarianism.
And as the war of words continued, Governor Newsom is saying that he believes that the White House is also considering sending 2,000 more National Guard troops. Aaron, tonight he's saying this isn't about public safety, but in his words, it's about stroking a dangerous president's ego. Aaron?
Indeed.
All right. Thank you very much.
It's about I think this is also about making an example out of people for Trump. I genuinely believe this. I think Trump wants to show power and show how brazen he is and how far he's willing to go in a very clear show of strength. The fact that, like, he can do anything he wants and there's no consequences, so that he can scare people out of protests like this in the future. I think that is a big part of his prerogative here. Gavin is a Democratic Abbott or DeSantis type figure, and they recognize that. I wonder if Trump thinks this will divide Californians from other Democratic governors. I don't know. I feel like, if anything, this is going to unite Californians behind Newsom. Do you think he's going to have them shoot protesters like they did in Ohio in the 70s? If that happens, it's going to shake up the politics of this country a lot, I think. I think it's going to be one of the biggest political shakeups in American history if that happens. I do not think that Trump has the political likability enough to get away with ordering shots fired on American protesters. That is the picture of tyranny that every 2A and 1A bro has fear-mongered about for generations at this point. If Trump, the president, orders shots fired on American citizens for protesting, that's it, dude. I don't think America's ever voting for someone like Trump again. I could be wrong. I could totally be wrong. Maybe Americans are beyond cooked, like beyond cooked to the level that I even thought they were. But I feel like that's going to be the moment where a lot of people are just like, no. Didn't Trump say I could shoot a man in Fifth Avenue and people would still support me? He did say that. You're not wrong. Then again, his base would justify it. That would be the moment it's cooked. They would try to sanity wash it, yes. That's exactly what happened in Ukraine in 2014 during the Euromaidan. If people aren't afraid now, they won't be scared by more intimidation tactics. I don't know, right? Like, if it goes from you might get arrested or pepper sprayed if you go to one of these protests to you will probably get shot dead at one of these protests, I think that's going to be a much bigger fear factor than what's already present. I might be wrong, but I don't think most people go to these protests expecting they might die that day. I mean, people will try to justify it, don't get me wrong, but I think a lot of Americans are going to be like, oh my god, like, this needs to stop. This is not this is not what I voted for. Anyway, that's really most of what's going on so far. No doubt there's going to be more developments over the course of even this stream, but expect there to be more coverage tomorrow because things are no doubt going to get insane tonight during these protests, and I expect we're going to have some wild things to talk about tomorrow when I do sort of a continuation to this topic, so make sure you keep an eye out for that. But if you enjoyed my coverage of the situation, if you found it entertaining, enjoyable, or educational in any way whatsoever, whether you're watching this live as I'm streaming or after the fact when this goes up as its own video, please consider leaving a like. Every thumbs up, every single like you guys leave, it's totally free. It only takes half a second, but it boosts my channel in the algorithm and forces YouTube to show my stuff to more new people and grow my channel. If you want, you can also comment as well, which also is totally free and only takes a second. And just like liking boosts the channel in the algorithm as well, you can even double up and do both, which really does help. If you don't know what to comment, just say, who up Xandering their haul? And of course, if you want to see more from me in the future, be sure to subscribe and ring the bell icon to turn on all notifications so YouTube actually tells you when I go live or upload new videos in the future. And of course, if you want to see more from me on other platforms as well, there are links down below to my social medias, but I especially recommend you join my Discord server as it's the main hub of my community and fan base. I host gaming events, call-in streams, watch parties, and movie nights there every Friday, every week, and on top of that, I announce all my new uploads and streams there just in case YouTube neglects to tell you, and trust me, they love to not tell you guys, I know that for a fact. And of course, finally, if you feel like I deserve it, you can afford it, and you feel like it, then please consider donating, subscribing, or gifting a sub on my website. It really does help a lot, and on top of that, you can also support me through YouTube, Twitch, Streamlabs, Stream Elements, Patreon, or you can buy some custom Xander Hall merch through the Streamlabs link down below. Regardless of how you support me, though, I really do appreciate it. You guys are the best, and as always, I hope you all have a good one.